Hello and welcome to G Fun Facts Online. Today, we're unlocking a hidden world, a history buried in stone and amber for hundreds of millions of years. We think we know insects, the ants in our kitchen, the butterflies in our garden. But what if I told you that their true story is far older, stranger, and more dramatic than we ever imagined? Recent discoveries are completely rewriting the epic of Earth's most diverse and successful animals. Timelines are being shattered, and behaviors we thought were modern are being found in the deep past. So, get ready, because we're about to meet the real ancient insects. So how are we suddenly rewriting entire chapters of evolution? It's not just about digging up more fossils, it's about how we look at them. For decades, studying fossil insects was incredibly frustrating. Their bodies are delicate. If they fossilize at all, they're often squashed flat in rock, or are tiny specks trapped in cloudy amber. But today, paleoentomologists have superpowers. The biggest game changer is a technology called X-ray microtomography, or microcort. Think of it like a hospital CT scanner, but a million times more powerful. It takes thousands of X-ray images of a fossil from every angle, and a computer then builds a perfect, high-resolution 3D model. Scientists can digitally fly through the insect, examining the veins on its wings or the structure of its mouthparts, all without ever damaging the precious one-of-a-kind specimen. This technology is like a key to a locked room, especially for insects hidden inside opaque rock or amber. Another key tool is the molecular clock. By comparing the DNA of living insects, scientists can estimate how long ago their ancestors split apart. But this clock needs to be set, and that's where fossils come in. When a new, older fossil is found, it forces scientists to recalibrate the clock. Suddenly, the estimated origin for that entire group of insects and all its relatives can get pushed back by tens of millions of years. It's this combination of high-tech imaging and genetic analysis that is fueling these incredible new revelations. Let's start at the very beginning, or what we thought was the beginning. The identity of the first ever insect is a major scientific controversy, and it all centers on a tiny 400 million-year-old fossil fragment from Scotland called Rhyniognatha hirsti. All we have is a partial head with mouthparts. But in 2004, an analysis suggested these mouthparts weren't just from an insect, but from a winged insect. This was a bombshell. It would mean insects, and possibly even flight, evolved far earlier than anyone thought, right as the very first complex forests were forming on land. But science is all about retesting ideas. In 2017, another team used advanced 3D imaging to re-examine the fossil. Their conclusion? The features actually look more like they belong to an ancient centipede. The debate is still raging. If Rhyniognatha is an insect, it pushes their origin deep into the Silurian period. If it's a centipede, the title of oldest insect is up for grabs, and the whole timeline for the evolution of flight gets shuffled once again. It just shows how a single, tiny fossil can have monumental implications. Now, let's jump forward about 100 million years to the Carboniferous period. Imagine a world where the air itself was different. Atmospheric oxygen was around 35% compared to our 21% today. This oxygen-rich air allowed insects to grow to sizes that would be terrifying to see today. The king of this era was a creature called Meganeura. It looked like a dragonfly, but it wasn't one. It was a griffinfly, the largest flying insect of all time, with a wingspan of up to 75 centimeters, or 2.5 feet. For a long time, the explanation seemed simple. Insects breathe through a network of tubes called tracheae that deliver oxygen directly to their tissues. The theory was that higher oxygen levels made this system more efficient, allowing for much larger bodies. But science is rarely that simple. Paleontologists later found other giant griffinflies from the Permian period, a time when oxygen levels were much lower. This has led to other ideas. Maybe it was an evolutionary arms race, with predators and prey getting bigger and bigger. Or maybe Without any birds or pterosaurs in the sky, there were no aerial vertebrate predators to keep them in check, so insects were free to rule the air and grow to enormous sizes. Whatever the ultimate cause, Meganeura is a stunning reminder of how a different environment can create a very different world. Around 252 million years ago, Earth experienced the single worst catastrophe in its history, the Permian-Triassic extinction, also known as the Great Dying. About 96% of all marine species and 70% of land vertebrates were wiped out. It was long thought that insects, being famously resilient, just sailed right through this apocalypse. But new fossil beds, especially from China, are telling a more complicated story. It turns out, insects did take a hit. Ancient relatives of grasshoppers and crickets saw their diversity plummet. Even cockroaches, the classic survivors, suffered a temporary decline. But here's where it gets truly surprising. While some groups struggled, others thrived. The true bugs, or Hemiptera, seem to have been barely affected, and their diversity actually increased after the extinction. Even more revolutionary is what a 2019 study found. By using new fossils to recalibrate the molecular clock, scientists came to a startling conclusion. The origins of many of today's most successful and widespread insect groups, like butterflies, moths, and flies, were far older than we knew. Their lineages actually emerged before the Great Dying. This means the ancestors of our modern insect world were already present, survived the worst extinction event the planet has ever known, and were perfectly positioned to take over the remade world. And take over they did. The period right after the Great Dying, the Triassic, was a time of incredible evolutionary creativity. For insects, it was a boom time. But proving this was hard because Triassic insect fossils are notoriously rare. That all changed with the discovery of exceptionally preserved fossil sites in China, dating to about 237 million years ago. These sites have yielded over 800 fossil insects, giving us an unprecedented look into this pivotal era. The finds completely obliterated the old timeline. We used to think that the major groups of insects that undergo complete metamorphosis, beetles, flies, bees, butterflies, really diversified in the Jurassic, the age of dinosaurs. These Chinese fossils show that's wrong. They were already incredibly diverse and thriving in the Triassic. We're talking about the earliest definitive fossils of caddisflies and scorpion flies. Beetles were especially abundant, showing their famous diversity has incredibly deep roots. There were also tons of aquatic insects, proving that complex freshwater ecosystems were well established far earlier than we thought. The blueprint for the modern, insect-dominated world wasn't drawn up in the age of dinosaurs, but in its prelude. These broad-scale changes are fascinating, but some of the most mind-blowing discoveries are rewriting the personal family histories of insects we see every day. Take butterflies and moths. The classic story was one of coevolution. Flowering plants appear in the Cretaceous, and moths evolve their long, coiled tongue, the proboscis, to drink their nectar. It was a perfect evolutionary love story. Well, a 2018 discovery tore that story to shreds. Scientists analyzing a drill core from Germany found fossilized wing scales of butterflies and moths that were 200 million years old. That's over 50 million years before the first known flowering plants. And some of these ancient moths already had the anatomy for a sucking proboscis. So what were they drinking? Scientists now believe they were using their tongues to feed on the sugary pollination droplets produced by non-flowering plants like conifers, which were dominant at the time. This means when flowers finally did show up, butterflies and moths were pre-adapted. They just switched their food source, and it sparked the incredible diversification we see today. They didn't evolve for flowers, they were waiting for them. Or how about bees? We know they evolved from wasps, but when? For years, the oldest bee fossil was 65 million years old. Then, in a piece of 100 million-year-old amber from Myanmar, researchers found Mellitus vexbermensis. This tiny fossil, 35 million years older than the previous record, is a perfect snapshot of evolution in action. It has the branched, pollen-collecting hairs of a bee, but it also has primitive, wasp-like legs and wing veins. It's a part wasp, part bee, confirming they evolved from predatory wasps that went vegetarian. And then there are the hell ants. These are an extinct group of ants with truly bizarre, scythe-like jaws that moved vertically, not sideways like modern ants, probably to spear their prey. They were known only from 99-million-year-old amber in the northern hemisphere, but a recent discovery identified a 113-million-year-old fossil of a hell ant from Brazil. Not only is it the oldest ant ever found, but its discovery in South America shows that these specialized predators had already achieved a global distribution early in their evolution. Perhaps the most incredible finds of all are the ones that preserve not just an animal, but an action. They are frozen moments of behavior. We used to think complex behaviors like parental care were recent developments. Fossils are proving that wrong. In 100-million-year-old amber, scientists found a female scale insect preserved with 60 eggs held in a wax sac on her abdomen, with her newborn nymphs crawling nearby. It's the earliest direct proof of an insect brooding its young. Other fossils of 125-million-year-old carrion beetles show they had specialized ridges on their abdomens used for making sounds, likely to communicate with their larvae, just like their modern relatives do. And even older, a Jurassic water boatman was found with a cluster of eggs attached to its leg, direct evidence of egg-carrying behavior in the age of dinosaurs. Insects also mastered the art of deception early on. We've found 165-million-year-old stick insects that already look just like twigs. But even more amazing is a fossil from China of a katydid relative whose wings perfectly mimic the leaves of a specific extinct plant found in the exact same rock layers. We're talking a perfect match. Down to the vein patterns, it's the first definitive fossil evidence of a mimicking insect preserved right next to its model plant. And what about social life? The origin of eusociality, the complex societies of ants and bees, has been pushed back 80 million years. 100-million-year-old amber reveals termites with distinct castes of workers, soldiers, and reproductives. We've found early ants with a wingless worker caste. One unbelievable piece of amber even captures a 100-million-year-old fight scene. Two ants from different species locked in combat, their jaws clamped on each other. It's a snapshot of ancient warfare. The Earth's crust is like a vast library, and we are only just beginning to translate the volumes written on insect evolution. Every new fossil adds a new sentence, and often it's a surprising one. The picture emerging is of an ancient world teeming with insects that were far more modern, diverse, and behaviorally complex than we ever imagined. They didn't just passively react to a changing world. They were active participants in creating it. They survived the planet's worst mass extinction, exploded in diversity in its aftermath, and developed sophisticated strategies for parenting, camouflage, and social living right alongside the dinosaurs. As our technology gets more powerful, allowing us to peer deeper into these stone and amber time capsules, who knows what other secrets will be revealed. The evolutionary story of insects is not just being rewritten, it's being revealed as a richer, more complex, and far more incredible story than we ever thought possible. Thanks for tuning in to G Fun Facts Online.